Avenue Cycling Club back with another sprint race video. We got the Trek Madone Zip 808s and we got the La Fuega jersey. So, given it's holiday season, I went with the red and white colorway. And when I set out to make this account, my goal set a goal for 100 subscribers, and we are over halfway there. And on top of that, been getting some really good feedback. So please subscribe, like, and share so that we could get this number up to over 100. And then I'll think about doing maybe a vlog style or talk a little bit about my setup and show what I got going here. For this race, just under 7 kilometers. It's a short one. It's flat. It's 40 kilometers, spread 40 meters elevation, spread out pretty evenly across the 7 kilometers. And I'm basically coming off the couch for this race. It was a rest day for me. Didn't do much. Found this race on Zwift Power about an hour before it started, and I said, what the hell, let's jump on the bike and see what kind of outcome I can get in this race. So very, very surprised and impressed with how the legs are feeling, given I didn't do much today. So at points here, I'm putting over 400, over 500 watts, and feeling good overall. So for this race, it's an all category race, so A, B, C, and D's. There's 63 riders across all those categories, and with these races, the strategy is always to stay in the front group, because the front group, as it should, will consist of A riders, but then there'll be a few B's that jump in with it, draft off the A riders, and get a decent finish. So I want to be one of those. I'm aiming for a podium, first, second, or third place. And there's not too many B riders in this. A couple guys from Japan, good to see. And this guy here just takes off from the start. This guy with the Tron bike in green, I see him quite a bit in this race, and he usually takes a lead or starts a breakout. So keep an eye on him throughout the race. But so far, so good. Putting well over 400 watts, sometimes into the 500s. At the beginning of this race, and heart rate's 174. Isn't bad in the first kilometer, but I'm not thinking about drafting. I'm just thinking about putting in strong wattage for the duration of the race, which should be under 10 minutes. So this Tron guy in the green here is already taking off, but I'm not too worried, because I know if I stay with the group and don't put too much effort to catch him, we'll bridge the gap. Alternatively, it would have taken a lot of energy and power, but I would think about maybe when I'm stronger to bridge the gap and maybe go solo breakout with him, because it's so short and he is an A rider with a good FTP. Like, he's already putting over 5.1 plus up there. So the strategy here is obviously to conserve energy for the sprint, but it's a pretty fast race. I'm thinking I want to get a good workout in and push the limits. So I'm going pretty hard, pretty strong from the start. 2 kilometers in, I'm in a decent position, and we're just now bridging the gap. I don't want to eat too much of the wind and sit in the front, but I'm waiting for this guy in the blue there to kind of pull forward, and then I'm getting behind his draft. But we bridge the gap to the green Tron bike guy, and we're sitting in, so 14 meters elevation out of 40, and that's just on the start. And I know from previous races that going into the volcano, there's 2 or 3 pretty big hilly spots. So I'm thinking about that in the back of my mind, but I'm also thinking that it's a short enough race for me to just kind of sit in and make it past those hilly parts. Because even if it's a 30-meter hill part here, like this one's coming up, it's pretty steep, 6% gradient. I know I'll get past it and it flattens out, so I just need to push through. So the watts drop a little bit there when it flattens out, but I'm still sitting in the front. And mainly it's because I don't want to sit in the front. I kind of want to drop back in and sit in the, maybe a top 5, top 10 position for now. And it gets pretty hilly again here, so as soon as we cross this the power-up spot, I don't think power-ups are set here in these sprint races, so you get a little bit of experience points there, but no power-ups. So we're coming on a decent downhill here, and I'm in the front for it, which I'm not too worried about because I'm a heavier rider, which means I think it would be a little bit easier for me on the downhills. I'll go faster with less power, but still putting near 500 watts. because I'm not really sure where this course goes after this. It looks pretty flat, but I do see the downhill on the map. So I'm anticipating it by sitting in the front here, and here it comes. So I kind of take off and sit in the pack here. Nice little downhill. I'll take a little bit off the watch, try to get my heart rate down so that I'm fresh for the sprint. But I still want to be, especially if someone takes off, and this Tron guy has one of these Tron guys has proven to be pretty aggressive with their moves and tactics. And we're over halfway here. So let's sit in and kind of see what happens, especially as we come to a little bit more elevated part. And 5 minutes in, 180 heart rate, that's not bad, especially because I'm putting out well over 400 watts for the majority of this race. On Zwift Power, I was looking, and my FTP is about 320. So that's my 20-minute effort. And I recently did a race where it was about 23-minute race, and my average power for that race was 350, which was kind of an anomaly. Must have been feeling pretty good for that day to put out 350 watts, but I anticipate I'm somewhere between 300 and 320. And here we go in the uphill, 5% gradient again. This is, I believe, the steepest part because we're bridging the gap to 40 meters elevation, and we're at 27 now. So sprint race, it's going to show your average power as a lot higher. My maximum average power put out in any races, I guess it would be the 5-minute power is 384, which coincidentally I matched spot on in this race. So by the end of it, you'll see it, the Zwift Power, but my average power for this race is 384, which makes a lot of sense, especially looking back at it. It sounds realistic, especially because I'm putting over 500 watts for a good amount of this race. So this should be the last stretch here. We're going into the volcano. A little bit of downhill. There's still 8 meters elevation, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that could be, a 5-6% gradient for, 10, 20 seconds, which can hurt, especially after such a fast race. Over 500 watts, heart rate's creeping up to 187, race is getting a bit faster. 1.6 kilometers in, I'm worried about the 1 kilometer mark that's going to start to break apart. So I'm panicking a little, heart rate's getting up, and I pull up to the front here, which I should have stayed in the front maybe and went full gas here for the last 1.5 kilometers. But then again, I just want to catch the breakout. So maybe stay close to the front in case somebody breaks out and then jump on that wheel when it does happen. But 7 meters elevation left. This green Tron guy takes off again. 2, 3 people, 4 people follow him. I should have been there. I should have been there with that front group, that breakout group. In my mind, I was thinking 1.1 kilometers is a long time for me to hold that on the breakout, but I could have drafted off them. That was, I guess, the turning point. The one mistake I made in this race, I should have took off with them. And even now I'm gassed, heart rate's going up to 190. Touches 190. My watts just aren't there. Putting over 400, which isn't bad, but the pack is getting so stretched out. 700 meters left, and I know there's still a little bit of elevation, so it's not going to be a flat finish. And I'm sitting, now that I'm watching this, I'm pretty far back, which is an ideal, it's almost turning into a third group. But luckily we bridge the gap, or I sit behind other riders who do so. 400 meters in, I'm not in the best position. That's what it comes down to. And here's the uphill section, having trouble sticking with the A's, but that's okay. I want to come podium in the B group. So ideally I'd be maybe with that second group, in a perfect world with the first on that breakout. But I get out of the saddle here, put out over 600 watts, coming down to the final stretch, less than 100 meters. I don't even take a few positions. It would be nice, but they're all A's. I'm just going for a strong B position. End up taking second place with the silver medal. So happy about that in the B group. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share so we can get over 100.